parking downtown for the stores to the backside. That was a Main Street Alabama project many, many years ago. So now, Main Street has gone through a lot of changes, and they're back active in the state again, and we are fortunate to have Mary Helmer here with us to tell us how we can play a role, thanks to Alabama Power, who paid the fee for all the cities in the Coastal Gateway region to be part of Main Street Alabama as, what do you call that level?
Downtown network.
The Downtown Network. So we're part of the Downtown Network, and she's going to tell us some wonderful ideas they have about ways that we can revitalize our city. We're all interested, we all have Bruton and its best interest at heart. We all want growth, we all want sustainability here, and we want Bruton to be the best city that it can be. And I think Main Street Alabama is one tool that we can use to make that happen. So make her welcome.
Thank you. I've had an opportunity to drive around and get the tour of the community and see how the back door entrances kind of came in. When she was explaining that to me, I went, that just sounds weird, but it looks really cool. So there's some very interesting things about your downtown. You have some cool buildings. You have railroad track that runs right through your downtown. That's interesting. We'll have to figure out how we're going to deal with that. And the traffic, obviously, with the highways is something to consider as well. A little bit about my background. I was a local Main Street director for 10 years in a town in Kansas. You can probably tell I'm not from the South. I was their director for a little over 10 years. Emporia, Kansas, about 25,000 people. Also, heavily traveled train track in my town. Not right down Main Street, that's a little different. And 2 highways that intersected in my downtown too. So I'm familiar with how to deal with heavy transportation. Highway 50 and Highway 99, if you're familiar with Kansas at all, Highway 50 is a main corridor. State highway, and Highway 99 is a 50 is a federal highway, 99 is a state highway. Lots and lots and lots of truck traffic there, and how you deal with that in a busy downtown. When I became the Main Street director there, we had about a 47% vacancy rate. Do you know what I mean when I say vacancy rate? We had almost half of our buildings empty in the downtown. We have a shotgun style downtown, what I call the shotgun style. It's not a courthouse square, it's 13 blocks long and about 3 or 4 blocks wide. And you could park 10 semis down the middle of Commercial Street, which is our main drag, and no one would say a word because it wasn't a problem. There wasn't anything, no shopping, hardly any retail. At that point, we were a little scared to include our upper stories because it would have made the vacancy rate that much worse. So it wasn't a good situation. They've been in since 1996, 91, since 1991 as a Main Street city in my town. So Main Street is not a short-term approach. Main Street is a long-term approach to a long-term concern problem. Hopefully that'll come back and play nice with us here in a minute. Come on. Well, it does what it's going to do there. After that, I spent 5 years with the state in Kansas as their state coordinator, traveling around and working with about 50-some communities in Kansas, and we had the Downtown Network as well. I wanted to do something a little different, so I became a private consultant on a project taking a former high school that the school district had sold. Funnily enough, I'd been on the school board and we put a whole bunch of money into that building, and then like 7 years later they sold it for $100,000. Holy cow. And I told the developer at the time, I said, that building's in good shape because we spent money on it. I can tell you it's in good shape, buy it. So they got it for $100,000, and he goes, okay, now I need you to figure out how we can turn this into a hotel and convention center. So we did the feasibility study. Is this actually going to work in our town? And then my job really was to find money. How are we going to leverage this project to keep the city manager and the developer, we had a little bit different form of government there, city manager and the developer from killing each other, which was entertaining in some days, and a little bit of public relations. A fabulous project. Truly understanding how to leverage historic tax credits on a building and being able to work with USDA REAP energy efficiency money, and they're both great programs, but they don't play well together sometimes. How do you take all these different layers of funding to get a large project like that done? And the ribbon cutting on that will happen in another year. While I was working on that project, I got an email from Alabama. Said, would you be interested? And my first thought was, I've already done the state coordinator thing. And I kind of said, not so much. They said, no, this one is a private nonprofit. We're restarting the program, which was of interest to me. I like to work in areas where you can see pretty quick return on the investment. I don't want to be in a grind of a system that takes forever to get things done. I said, really, it's going to be a private nonprofit, and we get to really restart the program in the state of Alabama, which was very exciting to me. So as I was backing out of my driveway June 1st of 2013 in Emporia, Kansas, to drive to Birmingham, Alabama, I said, hey, I'll be to work on Monday, where's the office? And they go, oh, we don't have an office yet. I'm going, holy cow. Okay, no office, no phone, no computer, no website. It was truly a startup, and it has been such a joy getting to know the state and feeling like I'm a part of the state at this point. So it's been tons of fun for me. One of the first things that we did was evaluate the communities who had continued to hang on from the previous state coordinated Main Street program and see what they truly needed. And pretty much without fail, they all needed to understand their role as economic developers. And that's kind of what I want to visit with you guys today, is to understand how your downtown ties into economic development for your entire community. And I'll give you some experiences that I had as a local Main Street director along the way, and zip through this with enough time to hopefully give you guys time to ask questions. I will provide this PDF to somebody, and it will be put on the website for you to look through, because I'm going to go through it quickly. You don't want to read PowerPoint anyway, but you might want to refer to it later. So when you talk about Main Street, let's talk a little bit about why it's even important to revitalize downtown. Well, in your heyday, and your downtown has deteriorated, there's no big shock here. There's a lot of vacancy downtown. But in its heyday, your central business district will account for as much as 30% of the town's jobs. And a lot of your tax base, from property tax, sales tax, those types of things, you need to really look at your downtown as a cohesive unit. And not look at your downtown as, this is the bank building, this is the cool photography studio that we were in this morning, this is the great little clothing shop. I'm sorry, I don't remember all the names of them, but we did walk in and out of stores today. Don't think of them as independent pieces. Think of your downtown as a cohesive unit. You're really only talking maybe 7 blocks total if you go, the main area and then a couple blocks off either side. It's a pretty condensed area. You could make some impact there fairly quickly. But it is more than just an economic asset. It is your kind of the heartstrings of your community. And in a lot of towns, I call it the living room of your community. If somebody's going to come visit you in your home, what do? You pick up the living room, pick up the kitchen. You want to make sure that your house looks good. Downtown's your living room. And whether you like it or not, people make judgments on your community regarding the condition of your downtown. And if I'm coming to move into your community, 15 years ago, I'd have been looking at your schools too. That's not as important to me now because my kids are in college. I don't have to worry about that as much anymore. But people will look at that as a quality of life. And if your core is rotting, it makes an impression on anybody who wants to come to your community. And that includes industrial and manufacturing recruitment. So it's about how you feel and that strong emotion. So when I think about the little downtown that I was raised in Garnett, Kansas, I don't think of the Pizza Hut out on the highway, though I ate there several times. And it's a nice little Pizza Hut. I think of the square. I think of the Square Fair. I think of the events and activities that are around it. I think of the high school that was just down the road, and we did our bed races and stuff around the square for homecoming. That's home. That's what downtowns evoke emotionally for most communities. So Main Street is a focused approach. And there's been a lot of approaches to downtown development over the years. Main Street's been around since 1980. It's been around a while. It's a national approach. There's been urban renewal. Anybody know what urban renewal is? Yeah, urban renewal was a big thing in the 70s, 60s, 70s, where they wanted to make downtowns look like malls because that's what everything was happening at that point in time. So they shut down the streets, and when she was telling me that they did a reverse back on yours, I said, oh my God, you got urban renewal. She goes, no, it's different here, which is a good thing. But they tried to make it look like a mall. They shut down streets, made it pedestrian-oriented, tried to make all the buildings look as similar as possible, and with very few exceptions, it killed the downtown. So just making it look different is not enough. The Main Street approach focuses on 4 different things. The first was organization, and that's why we come into your communities, we spend time with you. It's not like I'm trying to do this from Birmingham or Montgomery or anywhere else, I need to come and see your community. Because it depends on you guys. And do you have the love for your community to make things better? Because at the end of the day, I have another community I have to go to. I will get wound up, I will work in your community, but I do have to go to the next one, and I need to know that you're going to work in your community when I'm not here. So that's the big part. How do we get everybody focused on a goal that's important to the community? And in a lot of communities, downtown is that focus piece, okay? You have to build consensus and cooperation, a vision of sorts as to where your downtown could be if people moved forward and worked together. I do a lot of visioning retreats in communities, and that's where we're trying to pull together large groups of people to have them really put their input into what they want it to be. While Main Street approach is 4 points, it's not a cookie cutter approach. How far and how fast you drive this is really up to you. And the goals that are unique to your community is what you need to work on. Does it fall within the 4-point approach? Yes, it does. We just figure out how to make it work for you. Next one is promotion. This is Anniston. I forgot to point out these are our designated Main Street communities, pictures of them. Promotion is about selling the image and promise of downtown to consumers, to constituents within your community, to visitors, but also to people who might want to invest, to live, work, eat, play in your community. So promotion falls in 3 different areas, and you're doing some, she gave me the sheet, my goodness, of promotional events and activities you got going on. You got some stuff going on now. Promotion, there's 3 different parts. There's the image building piece. That's the piece that you may need to correct a negative impression of your community. Now in my case, to give you an example, Emporia State University, go Hornets. Their women's basketball's doing well, by the way. Just won last night. But they're right here, downtown's here. I mean, you could throw a rock across the street and hit the university. So it was really important to us to have the students shop downtown, but were they? No. So we surveyed the students, said, what's the scoop? And they said, well, you got old buildings, you got old people, you got old stuff. We're just not interested. We're going, oh, that's not who we are at all. And we asked them, what's the one thing you want to buy in downtown that you can't buy? And they said, well, we have to go to Walmart to get blue jeans. I'm going, holy crap. We had four or five stores at that time that sold blue jeans downtown. So we knew we had to do an image campaign directed specifically to those students to have them understand, we have what you want. You just gotta come check us out. So we did this campaign that said, did you know, in beautiful downtown Emporia, we have 3,843 different pairs of blue jeans in these styles and these colors and these price points, and here's a $5 coupon to shop. And they did. So those are the kinds of things when you're looking at an image piece, is to change that negative perception. But image is something different to different people. My mom doesn't care about blue jeans. So giving her a coupon for $5 off for blue jeans isn't going to mean a darn thing to her. So you're going to have to think about your target audience. The second part of promotion is cash register ringing events and activities, because your merchants want to make money. And you want them to make money as a city because they pay sales tax, and that helps everybody. So it is important that you do those types of activities. Those are things that actually the image building piece that we did with ESU was a cash register ringing one as well. The third one is special events and activities. And special events and activities is something that Alabama excels at. You guys know how to put on a party. The hospitality is amazing here. That's where you invite people in and change their impressions of your downtown so that they can see. And there are a number of examples of people who have invested in a community because of a really cool special event. But you need to be authentic to your community. Any of you been to Athens, Alabama? Athens does a really cool thing called the Grease Festival, playing off Athens, Greece. But it's G-R-E-A-S-E, and it's a celebration of everything fried in togas. It's the weirdest thing and the coolest thing ever. They can do that. That's authentic and unique to them. So think about things that are unique and authentic to you guys. Design is about how everything looks, and it's not just about your buildings, though that's important. You have some really fabulous facades. The old bank building, holy cow, is my instant favorite building in your downtown. And you have some other cool buildings too, but that one is pretty neat. And I hope you all know which one I'm talking about. You have to, yeah, okay, good. It's cool. It's very cool. But it's also about your window displays. It's also about your empty storefronts. and the impressions that that makes on someone. Women still make the majority of the buying decisions here, and everywhere else, for that matter. So, if I'm walking down the street, and I go by your cool little shop that had the, what's the name of that shop? It has the shirts and the...
Weavers?
Yeah. Is that the right one? Yeah. Cool place. And you're interested, you're looking at it, you go, this is neat, and I go to the next one. And you go to the next one, and then pretty soon you have a dirty storefront. And then you have one that doesn't even have a store behind it. That's weird. People will quit. Well, I'm sorry. I wish you hadn't taped this here shortly. But that's, that's strange, and it breaks up that street wall. That's what design is about, is to keep people moving. At the end of the day, everything that we do is about economic development. And how do you keep people moving, and how do you keep them spending money? So it's about your streetscape. Actually, your streetscape's pretty nice. I really enjoyed your back door little deck thing that you're redoing, because I did step on a couple of spots that were a little scary. But that's slick. That is really a neat deal and unique. I've not seen anything like that. So those are the kinds of things that draw. Your parking lots look good. You have nice landscaping. You've done some really nice things downtown. How to mediate some of the train, how to make that look better. Well, that's going to be, I always tell people don't challenge me, but I think you challenged me on that one. I'll say a little bit on that. But it's also about your banners. It's about your plantings. It's about dirty windows. It's about storefronts that don't look so good. It's about trash. So design is about everything. It's about entrances into your downtown. And she took me down to one of the entrances into your downtown by a lot of the old antebellum houses. Oh my gosh, what a beautiful entrance into your downtown. Beautiful. I mean, other towns would kill for that, and you've got it sitting there. So think about all of those things. Think about directional signage. How do you get people here? What differentiates your downtown from the rest of your community? Because it is different. And you start to get that feel right as you get to it. But you have some other retail that's connected to that. How do you make that transition? Because that retail is important as well. The fourth of the 4 points is economic restructuring. And economic restructuring is really understanding how to strengthen your existing businesses, because no one loves you like you do. And this was my biggest mistake as a brand new Main Street director. 46% vacancy rate. We decided, well, how hard can it be to recruit businesses? We got lots of property, we can do this, no problem. So we put together our pretty little packets, picked the store, the high-end gift store that we wanted in a very nice market area of Kansas City, and made our presentation to her. And she was very pleasant. She said, I get why you want me. I don't understand why I should want you. Which was a little hurtful. Actually, it was a lot hurtful. And I changed my attitude 100% at that point. Went back, and we sat around the table and said, we never want to feel like that again. We're not going to attract anybody else to us until we do a better job of strengthening what we currently have. So we worked very hard on an entrepreneurial program. The cool thing about entrepreneurs is they have passion, and you can't buy that. I've worked with business owners, long-established business owners that don't have passion. And they have money, and they have all the other stuff, but no passion. I'd rather work with somebody with no money and passion. It's so exciting. So you get that passion. If you could get the education piece, have them understand what it takes to run a business, and then have some seed money for them to start their business. So we filled up the other two legs of the stool. That's how we took care of that vacancy rate in our downtown. Did it happen in a year? No. But in about 3 years, you could see a huge, huge difference. Now, they have about an 8% vacancy rate, including their upper stories. I'm so proud, because I've been gone for about 7 years now, between working for the state and then coming down here. So it's amazing to me, and guess what? Franchises are coming to downtown Emporia. They weren't looking at us 10 years ago, wanted nothing to do with us. So you're not going to attract some of those other things until you get your existing businesses feeling good about themselves. What we are providing to our existing communities is a market study. And I visited a little bit about the feasibility and also about market awareness as we were driving around this morning with Connie. And you can't make decisions without knowing what you could truly pull back. I am based in reality, so I'm not going to tell you, hey, you can get a target here, that's no problem. Because guess what? I don't have to look real hard at your market to tell you you're probably not going to get a target here. But what can you get? And what are the pieces within the market that have enough leakage that an existing business could add another product line, or there is enough leakage that you could open up something brand new. And the cool thing about your downtown is that it's very unique. So people are going to come for destination businesses. So if I want to go to Belk, I can go to Belk in Birmingham, and I can go to Belk in Montgomery, and I can go to Belk in Mobile. And it's the same experience, and that's okay. That's what Belk wants. When I go into downtowns, I expect a different experience. I expect that individuality. I expect that product that I may not be able to get anywhere else, or that service I may not be able to get anywhere else. That's your niche. So we need to be looking at what type of market pieces you might be able to pull back. So we have a program of services, Training Downtown Network and Designated Main Street. The training is, we just finished one on board building. It was fabulous. How to get people excited about doing board service, which no one gets excited about board service anymore, but it was quite good, and how to fundraise. Those are the types of trainings we've had. We've also had one on promotion, how to get cash registering events, how to build your market awareness, those types of things. If you want to come to our training, it's open to anybody. It's $125. It's usually an 8 or 7 hour training by the time we break for lunch. So if you want to do that, you're welcome to. We open that up to anybody. The next tier is where you're at right now. And this is the Downtown Network. And Downtown Network is for communities who are wanting to start dipping their toe into the downtown revitalization pool, seeing if it's a good fit for them, starting to understand the relationship building with Main Street, and whether they want to go further at this point, because being a designated community is commitment. So on this one, we're Dayton. If you become designated, we're married. There's some commitment. We're going to talk about the long-term part of the designation piece. But what you guys are getting right now is you get an on-site visit, and because you're part of this regional approach with Coastal Gateway, you also get 2 additional trainings, one of which I've already completed. And those are held in Monroeville as one of our designated communities, and the one I just did was on a 1-hour piece on promotion, and then we shared best practices. And then we will have one in the fall. Connie, I don't remember the date, I sent it out to you guys, but September something. But we'll be back in Monroeville doing another training, regional training, and I don't care if other people want to come to that. That's fine with me. I guess you probably ought to ask Coastal Gateway on why they care. But if you want to come to that, you're welcome to. We'll do some consultation with you. It always says telephone or electronic, but if I'm in your area, you get me in person. This is your on-site presentation to introduce the program, so you know who we are and what we do. And then if you are interested in parts of it but aren't ready to bite on the whole thing, you can purchase additional services at a discounted rate. I highly encourage you to come to quarterly training. Start interacting with other people. The best part about Main Street is the networking. It's asking other people, hey, is this really going on in your community and how do I handle it? That's the best part. So you get a discount on the training. It goes from $125 to $100. We have a ton of educational resources. I tend to be a tad bit old school. I've been doing this for 17, 18 years. I have actual real books. But I also have stuff that's electronic. In the targeted areas we have, if you need some help on communications or marketing, branding, design, economic development tools, we have a lot of different things. What you need to do is just kind of tell me what you want, and I'll get it to you from an electronic perspective. We also have a particular email that's set up just for our downtown network communities to give you updates, and if we hear about grants or those types of things that might be of help to your organization, we'll send those out on a semi-regular basis. And that's the regional approach, but you guys are already in that. So these are our downtown network communities currently. This week is a whirlwind tour to see how many I can hit in this area. So right after this meeting, I'm going to be flying down the road to Evergreen and kind of doing the same presentation there that I'm in Atmore tomorrow. I'll be in Thomasville, Grove Hill, Butler. I don't know if I missed anybody on my head. Jackson, I got to figure out how to get to that. Designated communities are communities who are ready to jump in. As a designated community, you get a wide range of services, but your responsibility level goes up as well. So we're going to go through those. And it is the only level that authorizes you to use the trademarked Main Street name. National Main Street Center is serious about the trademark. So as a downtown network community, you're not designated, you're not authorized to use that yet. Only if you're designated. These are our current designated communities. We did just finish our new city application workshops and have received letters of intent to apply, and we'll be bringing on 3 new communities June 1st, and services will start immediately. So you've missed the application round this year, but you're not quite ready anyway, so that's all right. Gives you a little time. I'm not going to read this to you, but there's a lot of things we give a new community in the first year. We do an on-site visit to help them really kick it off. We do the visioning session. We'll come in and do a resource team. We'll spend some really in-depth time making sure that we understand what's coming at it from a historic perspective, promotional perspective, economic development perspective, what's going on in the county, what's going on in East Britain. Okay, so because it's all part of your market, so you can't ignore it. It's not like they're not there. You have to figure out how you're going to use all the information that's available to you. We provide a strategic planning guide that's developed by that resource team to guide you through the first 3 to 5 years of your program. It's amazing. We'll come in and do the market assessment. We'll help train your director. We'll help train your committees. In the first year, of course, Monroeville is one of our new communities from last year. We'll be in your community about every month. You'll see us a bunch. Training at that point is $25 a person, but you're required to go. So it changes a little bit. There's more educational resources. They get more updates. It gives them the authorization to use the name, and we promote and market what's going on in those communities across our network. So if they have an event or an activity going on, our marketing person takes care of promoting all of that. They're eligible to win awards, recognition at the state level, but they are required to sign an annual memorandum of agreement. And the MOA is basically, this is what Main Street Alabama is going to do, this is what the community is going to do, we're all going to play happy. And if the next year they're saying we don't want to do the same, but that's your choice, this is the expectations, this is what we're going to do. Understand and commit to the Main Street 4-point approach. You can't just do design and say, I want a streetscape. When the streetscape is done, you're done. That's not what Main Street is. Main Street works 100% of the time if you work it. But if you're not going to work it, we have a lot of communities who do want to work it. So that's why I want to come into communities. I want to get to know you. I want to get to know who you are, to get a feel for what you want to do and how you want to grow your community. Because if I feel that excitement, enthusiasm, and love for your community, it's a lot easier for me to commit to you. We need to build consensus-based cooperative partnerships. It is a public-private partnership, so it's not 100% private, and it's not 100% public. So you have to understand what that mix is. You have to, at this point, you have to have a director. And communities over 5,000 in population, and you're just over, so we might negotiate if you'd like. You need a full-time director. Your downtown's smaller in area, so I could probably negotiate with you guys to maybe have a part-time. But it's, what that means is, I worked 50 to 60 hours a week as a local Main Street director in a much bigger town than you are. I've never really seen a Main Street job that's part-time. They're just paid part-time. So it's a big job, but it's a fun job. It's by far the funnest job I've ever had, being a local Main Street director. But you have to have that program funding to cover that. You're going to cover your overhead. You're going to cover your staff. You're going to cover, you know, if you want to do some marketing and pay for some brochures, those types of things. We are not a grant program. We're going to provide you with the information to be successful, but you have to work it. So I want to make sure that's clear. At that point, you do have at least the manager has to attend all the quarterly trainings and directors meetings. So in the first year, it's $5,000. In the first year, we give about $60,000 worth of services. So it's a pretty darn good return on your investment. Second year is $3,000. We provide a market assessment in your second year. Market assessment is about $15,000 to $20,000. Third year, we're still doing a lot of hand-holding, so it's $2,000, and then our existing communities stayed $1,000 after that. For existing communities, we continue to come in and do board retreats, goal setting, committee work plans, providing them with individual committee training, those types of things to make sure they stay on track. Workshops we've already completed. You want really a lot more information about Main Street, just go to our website. There's a ton of information on there. There's printable forms on the tiered services and the menu of services. Probably the tabs you're going to be most interested in will be getting started, the tiered services and the menu services. So I went through that fairly quick, I know, but I wanted to make sure I left time for questions about what we do individually, because this is usually where people are going, what does this mean for us? So now's your time. No questions?
You are not shy, come on, Hope.
I'll say something real quick. I'm working with Main Street in Monroeville, and lots of work, lots of challenges, but an amazing program, and the ideas that Main Street brought to that community are amazing, and I expect big things from Monroeville, so that's just my plug.
Thank you. And unique to them. I mean, we did already meet with AlDOT there on what I called their Talladega. See, I quit calling it Daytona. I have learned. Because if you've been to Monroeville, you know that they're around their square, you go around, but on the inner circle, they never stop. It's a little scary and dangerous. So they're looking at it. The first time I stepped out, holy cow, they don't stop. So you got to run fast, which I don't do, or you wait till the traffic goes by. So yeah, there's some issues there. We're also working with them on their bank building because that's a pretty iconic building in their downtown that really needs to find, you know, some love, a lot of love, rather quickly. So we're moving ahead on some things there, but it's also, you know, how do you market? I just went in there not long ago and did work plan training to get their committees kicked off and how the goal setting from the board, and how you take a goal from the board into implementable steps, because we are boots on the ground, implementation oriented. It's not about a plan. We provide a lot of data. If all you're going to do with that data is put it on a shelf and then 5 years later go, you know what we need? We need a plan. Then we're not the program for you. If you want to work a plan and have the implementation steps, and this is who needs to be doing what, then we're the program for you. But it has to be your choice. It's not for every single community, and you know, I understand that it's a lot of work with Main Street, but if you want to commit, we commit 100%.
What types of businesses have helped the most?
I would say more, we do some with service, obviously, but retail is probably the number one, because it's really explaining to them what their market is and giving data to business owners who just don't have time to do it. Independent business owners are awesome. I love independent business owners because they can make a decision quickly. Independent business owners can be a pain sometimes because they're independent, and it's not always easy to get a decision from them. But I think providing that information and giving them as much as they can to be successful. One of the biggest things for us really was breaking down our market assessment. Me, as the director, getting out on the street and going to the business and saying, you know, here's the leakage in this particular area, there's not enough in this, but there is enough to fit into your business line. Would you be interested in all on how we can get something like this going? And then working with them on, okay, how do we get the banks to give, perhaps at that point, interest rates are pretty high. Can we get the banks to do a lower percent interest loan, and those types of things to help the businesses go. So it's about that, and then making sure that you continue to follow up. Does that answer your question?
Well, like what other types of retail? Most of the buildings that are occupied are attorneys and just office buildings for people, as opposed to.
And you're going to have attorneys that kind of here because you're.
And the courthouse is right there, so they all want to be there. So the restaurant issue comes and goes.
Yeah, but I would think, you know, my town was also a county seat. Courthouse is right across from my office, so we had service. Clustering is a good thing. Trying to cluster those types of businesses together. You know, it's not possible to, you know, use it like a monopoly board and just move, you know, your business needs to be over here. I mean, that takes years to get those kinds of things done. But understanding that an attorney's office, in my case, we worked with an attorney's office that was a one-man shop who had a 2,500 square foot building. He really only needed 500 feet. And he really didn't need the front store windows. And it took some time and some traction to visit with him and say, would you be willing to rent out the front side of your building? And if we could figure out how to do, you know, even a side corridor to get them to you, or you have a piece of it, and it worked out. We started with shared buildings is how we did it. Some of the service pieces that didn't need quite that much, if that helps. And one of our little bitty towns in Peabody, Kansas, which is about an hour from Emporia, 1,300 was our smallest designated Main Street community when I was a state coordinator. Did a process with them, and what they wanted, visioning from their community, was a white cloth Italian restaurant. Candles, wine, yeah, violins, 1,300 people. Can't make a living. Can't make a living on anniversaries and birthdays, especially when, you know, husbands forget your anniversaries every second year. So you're just gonna die. You can't live. So how did we work with that? We said you're not gonna make it. You can't support it. You're an hour from Emporia. You're 30 minutes from Wichita, which is a major metropolitan area in Kansas. But there was a mom and pop restaurant that was only open for breakfast and lunch, which I see a lot of that in Alabama too, in the smaller towns. They weren't open for dinner. We went to them with the local Main Street director, so this wasn't me, but providing the information, and actually they're only an hour away, so I did sit in on some of these conversations just because it was fun, and said, would you sell your night business? And they go, but we're not open at night. We know. Would you sell your night business? And it took a long time to explain to them, there's potential here, but we don't want you to run the night business, but we want to use your place. Because there's no way this little restaurant is going to make it. Restaurants and retail clothing are the two biggest projects to fail typically in smaller towns, because it's very, very difficult. So being able to partner was the way to go. So we finally convinced them. There's a young couple who wants to do this, but they really only want to do this, they want to kind of grow like a pop-up restaurant, which is very popular now. You see a lot of it in Birmingham and some of the other cities around. This was way before its time. So they opened up, they did an Italian bistro every Friday and Saturday night for like 2 years. And then, honestly, the biggest argument in that whole thing was, once we got past I don't want to work at night, piece and really explained to them what we meant, was who was going to use what part of the cooler. We had actually going to take off the cooler. It was hilarious. Everybody, WKRP and Les Nessman hopping over the, tells you how old I am, but that's a funny show, about the taped off office. That was the hardest part to convince someone about. Then when the people who'd owned the restaurant for years and years and years were ready to retire, there was a built-in couple to take it over. So they still kind of kept the mom and pop breakfast thing, but they were able to segue into a restaurant. Otherwise, that community would have lost their only restaurant. So that's unique things that you need to think about. What works in Birmingham isn't going to work here. So let's think about what we can take to modify something that might be kind of cool going on there and make it work in a smaller community. That's the challenge. It's fun. Any other questions? Got some thinking to do.
Do you think there's any kind of idea as far as a redesign of some sort for downtown Bruton, or do you think that was something necessary in that type of
Are
area?
you talking your transportation corridor?
Yeah, but the whole thing, transportation corridor, or like how the downtown arranged.
Yeah, probably needs to be looked at, but I am not a transportation engineer, and I'm not going to pretend to be one. So that would take some specialists to come in. If you became designated and we came in and did the resource team, we would have to bring someone in to deal with that issue. I'd have to look at a different specialist on my team, because it's really different. I've never seen anything quite like it. So
You also mentioned something about the train. Of course, that's kind of that's been a unique thing, which I'm well aware of in our town. Always come to. Does that present any challenges?
yeah. It presented challenges in my town. It wasn't straight down the middle of the street. It cut off one part of the southern part of my downtown from the rest of my downtown, and there would be, times where you'd sit at the tracks for 30, 40 minutes. So it was a serious problem, just from. I thought that was my computer blowing up. That was scary. But yeah, we'd have to have somebody come in and look at it. I don't know if you had anybody, ask the mayor, if you had anybody come look at any transportation.
Let me just address it. One of the problems you have is this group will make this meeting, and this group will make another meeting, and you're sort of discussing the same things, but you're not all together at the same time, so to speak. So, some of the things about this Main Street program, of course, this was not a program that the city of Bruton decided that we wanted to join. This was a program that Alabama Power decided that they would pay for the first phase for all the cities in this area, which we appreciate Alabama Power doing that. On the other hand, the city couldn't wait, I guess you'd say, for Alabama Power or anybody else to help the city. And some of the people that are in this room may remember when 2 years ago, when we first came into office, we revitalized the ACE program, Alabama Community Excellence. And part of redoing that program was to do a 5-year plan for the city of Brewton. We also then went and hired Goodwin Mills and Cable to come up with a plan to revitalize downtown, which, and really the whole city, which we've been working on this whole time. One of the problems, and we talk about transportation, I guess that bypass around downtown Brewton, I probably over the years, on and off, have worked on it for 25, 30 years. I've looked at northern bypasses and southern bypasses, and met with the highway department, and met with the governor, and so have a lot of other people. I'm not talking about just me, but I mean a lot of people, a lot of different committees, and to be honest, I think the odds of Brewton, Alabama ever getting about a $300 million bypass to go across the swamp south of Brewton is just not going to happen. And I'll give you a true story. When Joe McInnes was named highway director, Joe had worked for my uncle for 30, 40 years. I knew Joe very well. I called the mayor, Ted Jennings, and I said, Ted, and I'm just, citizen at that point, businessman in Brewton. And I said, Ted, I know the new highway director really well. And why don't we go talk to him about some of these transportation projects in Brewton. That led to a number of meetings in Montgomery, because one of my thoughts, if you go back to my days as chairman of the Coastal Gateway, which was a 4-lane to the interstate and all those kind of things. And so we got Seth Hammock, who was the Speaker of the House, and a lot of people on board, a bunch of senators, a lot of good meetings in Montgomery. So one day I'm talking to Joe on the phone, and Joe said, I'll tell you what, because my question always was, well, when is a bulldozer going to show up? That was always my question. He said, I'll tell you what, this was on Friday. He said, on Monday, I'll have state surveyors out on Highway 41, and we will break it up into 3 phases. While we're 4-lane in the first phase, we'll be engineering the second phase. When we're doing the second phase, we'll be in, and we'll go all the way to the railroad tracks in downtown Brewton. I said, Joe, that's great. I believe you. But I don't know if the mayor will believe me. I said, do you mind telling Mayor Jennings what you just told me? He said, sure. So I get Ted on the phone. And he tells Ted the exact same thing. Ted was not running for office that day. Okay? So he did not need to publicize the fact that we were going to get a 4-lane from the railroad tracks to I-65, because the highway director had just confirmed that. Sure enough, on Monday morning, some surveyors showed up out there by Coastal Gateway and started putting these yellow flags out. Okay? Marking. I thought that was great. About 3 months later, the head engineer for the state called me up and says, Yank, have you got time to meet with me, and could you set up a meeting with the mayor? I said, sure. So we met in this building, Ted. He said, let me tell you how this is going to be. If y'all say number 1 funding for the next 16 years, you'll get the 4-lane. Of course, I was saying number 1 funding for 16 years is 0, right? He said, or we can put some passing lanes, 2 north and 2 south, okay, with maintenance money, and we'll get that done in the next couple of years. Ted and I discussed it, and we said, we'll go for the bird in hand. It took 6 years to get those passing lanes. And that's where those passing lanes on Highway 41 came from, was a guaranteed 4-lane from the interstate to the railroad track in downtown Brewton. And that's just a long series of a lot of people talking with the state of Alabama about roads and problems in Brewton, Alabama. Part of the study we did for downtown Brewton is downtown Brewton is sort of unique, and we flipped the buildings, whatever, 30 years ago, because a lot of it's traffic problems and parking problems and this, that, and the other. But in essence, what we created when we did that was a strip shopping center. And when you create a strip shopping center, if you own a strip shopping center, one of the worst things you can do is sell the out parcels in front of it. Because when you sell the out parcels, people can't see the businesses that are in the strip shopping center. Well, what do we have in front of us? We got tire dealers and service stations and a bar and And the city has developed a park over there, very nice. Continues to develop that park. It was a junkyard, I don't know if y'all recall that, when Ted started that project a long time ago. And it continues to flourish, but a lot of work is still working on acquiring some of those buildings that are blocking our quote strip shopping. We went after a grant, as y'all know, the boardwalk downtown is in very bad shape. We got a grant right off the bat. It said the state's broke. So they did an emergency thing just the other day, and finally was gonna give us some money, which we bid that job out last week. And so we're gonna get that boardwalk pretty quick replaced, and there's a lot of really neat things that would go with that. At the same time, the city's been working really hard to fill these downtown buildings up. Okay? We've offered to buy 3 of them. We wanted to move the Chamber of Commerce in one of them. We offer anybody $20,000 if you'll open a business in downtown Brewton. So far, we haven't written a check. Okay? We passed a resolution twice to do that. So I don't want you to think when you hear about a program that that's an answer. It's a long-term process. It really is. And Brewton with a flood zone and all that you have in an industrial zone, it's an extra challenge you have. That doesn't mean that you can't keep working on it, and you should work on it, and you should be interested as you are by by you being here. But it's not one plan doesn't just solve it. It takes a number of years and continual meetings. And there are a number of committees that are working on these plans. It's not like we're not. And you're going to hear criticisms because people don't know the whole plan. Sometimes when you put on events, as she was talking about promotion, you get criticized because you're putting on parties. Well, maybe, but you're really trying to get somebody somewhere. You can get criticized for doing a farmer's market. You can get criticized for whatever. I think, the longer I'm in politics, I learned that there's no lack of people that are negative. But you want to be as positive and try to get and work on some of these committees to help move your city forward. There's a lot going on. There's a big study going on with a major university right now to do a jobs training center here in Brewton. It's a major game changer type deal. Whether that'll work, I can't promise you that. I'm working really hard on it. I can't promise you it'll happen. But there's a lot of those things that are you have to show up, and I appreciate y'all showing up today. I was scared when I walked in. There was about 3 people sitting here when I got here, and I was like, oh my goodness. So I always appreciate people being involved, but that's some of the things. If you ever want to, we have all of the plans, all of the drawings. If you ever want to see the whole picture of what you've already paid for, okay? And get with myself, get with Connie, get with Steve. We'll be happy to show them to you. And that's really all I got to say. I just want to let you know some of this transportation stuff is a fair amount of work. And then some of it's still continuing. Anybody got any questions for me? No?
I have something to say, and I know we're here on behalf of the chamber, but we're all about trying to do anything we can to help downtown, and we always bring this up before Steve, and Steve gives us the answer. But I feel like a lot of times our downtown, your image is 31 and 41, and it's one of the worst looking. Is there not something like our city can do, like she said, to break that image of when you're walking and you've got great, empty, awful looking windows? I just think people coming into town, that's the first thing they see, and I think that we should be able to do something to clean those windows up.
Cities can't work on private property, right? I can't come wash your windows. Mm-hmm. I can encourage you to. I talked to Kathy McMillan back when she had her coffee shop downtown. And that was one of her big things, was washing those windows, but you have 2 foundries down there, you've got transfer trucks going by you every day. She was talking about it was just almost a losing battle. She'd wash them in the morning, and in the afternoon they would be filthy again.
I'm not really even discussing the dirt. I'm not on the dirt as a soot. Yeah. I'm talking the junk.
The junk in the window.
The corner building.
Don't take that corner building you're talking about. The city's tried to buy that building to do something, but so far we haven't been able to get. But yes, but see, I can't tell you what to do other than we can encourage you. That's an empty building, people have stuck some stuff in, and it's a problem. I agree 100%. I don't like it.
Excuse me, Mayor, Mary's got to go on to her next event.
I'm so sorry, because this is really great discussion. I don't want you to think because I'm leaving that we shouldn't, because he's got great information. Main Street is a grassroots effort. It takes years to get it where it needs to be. And what the mayor is saying is exactly right. Don't ignore what's happened before. Don't ignore the foundation that you've already put in place with ACE. They do some fabulous things. There are some things that Main Street, I think, can bring to the table, but you have to decide whether that's important at this point in your life as a community right now. That's not my decision, that's your decision. When you talk about working with business owners and windows downtown, that's a relationship building piece. That was what I did as a local Main Street director. Emporia City didn't do that. Main Street did that. Because we could build the relationships with those businesses as another private organization. So just some things to think about there a little bit. I'm gonna leave a few brochures and some cards up here if you wanna give me a shout. Mayor, I'd love to sit down and talk with you a little bit more, but I gotta get to Evergreen or they're gonna shoot me. So.
And they will in Evergreen, I know
They
that.
will shoot me.
And the train will go through.
And the train will go out.
All right, thank you very much.
Again, thank you very much for being with us today. We will have her PowerPoint to be posted online along with the video of today. So if you have any questions, you feel free to contact me. Her contact information is there too. You can speak with her directly. We'll be glad to answer any questions you have. If I don't know the answer, I will find somebody who can help you. And if you have any ideas, we're always glad to hear them.
I
Yes,
do
Amy?
have one comment. Yank was talking about the negative energy that we're feeling right now. And anytime we have that, I think as advocates for our city, we need to make a point of being positive in our community. All of the events that Bruton is having right now is to build that public relations, to have people come into our community, to go to our stores, to see our community, to possibly want to move into our community. And to me, like Mary said, industries are not going to want to come into a community that doesn't have things going on already. So we are all trying to bring economic development into Bruton. But I heard Mary Helmer say something in Monroeville not too long ago, and I thought, wow, that's really harsh. But it's very true. We need to stop waiting on someone to come in and save us, i.e. a big business or somebody with lots of jobs, and we need to save ourselves. And to save ourselves, we're going to have to work really hard and be willing to work together. So I just thought I'd say that.
Thank you, Amy. I appreciate it very much. And again, I appreciate all of you. Matt?
I'd just like to say that if I hadn't had a phone call this morning from Carolyn, I wouldn't have come. I had
Carolyn is
seen
awesome.
the post on Facebook and everything, and I thought, well, why should I go? I'm not going to open a business or anything. And Carolyn called and rattled my cage. So
Carolyn is one of the best.
I
paid
guess I'm
rattlers
saying, when you have these meetings, if somebody will just call 2 or 3 other people, it will increase you'll have a better attendance.
Exactly, and I'm always available to answer any questions. If there's a problem in the city that I can help you with, I'm always more than happy to be there as an advocate for you, as a liaison with the city, between businesses and constituents in the city. If you want to know actually the facts of the situation, call me. I think I have a pretty good reputation for always taking the high road and always delivering factual information. So if you've heard something that sounds really weird, ask me and I'll tell you the truth. I'll give you that promise right up front.
So is Bruton actually committed to this program, or is she
Bruton
here
is
trying
on
to
the
sell?
lowest. There's like several tiers of involvement you can have with Main Street. The lowest one is a network city. That's what Alabama Power paid for all of the cities that are within the Coastal Gateway organization. All of the cities in their area are in the network. That means we get basic services from them, like this information today. We can also purchase like studies from them. If we want a specific design or something like that, we can get that from them too at a specific price, at a price point. If we want to be a full-fledged Main Street city like Monroeville is now, there's several other Main Street cities that the charge goes up. It's a big fee that you have to pay them to go up a tier and get more services that they provide. So it all depends on how much and how involved we want Main Street to be in what we're doing. That it all depends on how much you want to pay for that service.
And Nancy, sort of answer that a little more. The Main Street's a great program, and I'm glad to see the state of Alabama has resurrected it. BrutonNet has already paid for a lot of the stuff and has what they're talking about. If you want to do retail, what kind of business will come to your town? Just hire Burton and they do a Burton study and can give you those things. We have that. But the city council has not looked at Main Street program. If we wanted to say, all right, and I don't recall what we spent, but if you want to ditch what we already did and you wanted to hire this outfit, you could, but if it's free, like it was, I will certainly look forward to listening because you're always open to new ideas, right?
So the ACE and, do they complement each other, Main Street, or I'm hearing you maybe it's
Two separate
duplicate.
programs. It requires you to do a lot of things.
Right.
One of the things is a 5-year plan, and to update that plan and involve a lot of different groups. The other is we actually hired a company to do what Main Street, when Main Street was dead and the state wasn't funding, we hired our own company, Goodwin Mills, to help us do what Main Street is now doing. Nothing's free, it all costs money, and it also takes commitment. Can't all this happen here, it takes all of us, right?
So and ACE deals with the whole city, not just downtown.
It's like the Chamber of Commerce, and I'll pick on the Chamber of Commerce. Look how much more the Chamber of Commerce is doing today than they were, in the past. It's got a great chamber board, a lot of events, what's Kicking and Creek's coming?
The 11th.
11th, a lot of good things happening with the chamber. The city has gotten financially more involved with the chamber, it's a lot of things like that, it takes other groups, can't always just be the city doing, other groups to make those things happen. I've seen some of their preliminary plans now for the Blueberry Festival this year and how they're gonna move stuff around, and it's gonna be neat. I applaud folks that are involved in that. So,
Me too. There's another thing all of you can be involved in too, and you can learn more about what's going on in the city if you are a texter, like most everybody is these days. Text ADME to 313131, and they'll keep you appraised of things that are happening and events that are coming up. They go out by text if there's an emergency alert. That's also the system that we use to let people know. So if you're not part of that already, go ahead and join it. It's a worthwhile thing. It doesn't cost you anything, unless you have a texting fee or something that you have to pay. Most people don't anymore. All right, anybody else got a question? Comment?
I have a comment.
Yes, sir.
I'm kind of in a unique position because I grew up here and I lived away for 10 years and I moved back because of a particular family situation. And when I moved back to Bruton, and Connie can vouch for this, I wanted to know what I could get involved in because I have to be active. That's just my personality. And at first I thought that she was yanking my chain when she started telling me about all these things. But there is so much in Bruton going on that people can be involved in. Really, nobody has a right to say there's nothing here because there is so much. My calendar is full. I have a friend that wanted me to come to an event in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. He contacted me 6 weeks ago. The first date that I have free is the last Saturday in April, because of the things that are going on here, and I feel that it's important to support my community long before I support somebody else's community. And we don't only need to just contact people to make them aware of meetings, we need to be vocal all the time about the events that are going on, whether it's an Arts Council presentation, or Rock the Dock, or a high school band concert, or anything like that, because invariably people are going to say, I didn't know it was going on. A lot of that I realize is because people choose not to be informed, because the information is out there and it's available in multiple media outlets. You just have to look for it. But I think we can't ask the city to do any more to publicize, because I think they're doing an excellent job. But we have a responsibility as citizens and caring members of the community to vocalize this stuff over and over and over until people are tired of hearing about it, and get them as involved as we are. and attend multiple meetings, not just one now and one in 6 months, but every meeting so that we stay on board and we always know what's going on.
Just a quick poll, how many of y'all have posted something negative about today's meeting on Facebook? That's what I thought. We have a bunch of positive people here, and those are the people who wind up getting things done. It's people who think in terms of what can we do, how can we make it better, and that's the kind of people I want to work with. So thank you all again for your time. I appreciate you being here, and we'll